Good evening, you're watching News Mongolian World. I'm your host, Anwar Khabatr. And for top stories, Business and Human Rights Forum held at the Government Palace. Mongolian cashmere producers started a golf market. Art Week 2022 fine art exhibition on view until December. And for other news, stay tuned. The Office of the Cabinet Secretariat, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Committee for Human Rights organized the Business and Human Rights Forum at the Government Palace on November 18th with financial support from the European Union. The forum was attended by representatives from the government, private institutions, civil society, academia and the media.
Forum focused on creating economic growth by encouraging responsible businesses that respect human rights around the world. In 2011, the United Nations Human Rights Council approved the governing principles of business and human rights, a policy document that clarifies the role of the state and businesses in preventing human rights violations caused by business activities, resolving violations, and restoring violated rights. It is believed that creating a national action plan is the most effective means of implementing these principles. So far, 29 countries have approved national action plans, and another 26 countries, including Mongolia, have made policy decisions on the development of plans.
One of the best things that a company can do is to develop a human rights policy that sets out its commitments to human rights. It speaks to shareholders. A human rights policy by a company can also speak to its employees and about the communities that it impacts. The second most important thing that a company can do is to develop a process for human rights due diligence. You asked that the first time. It's the most important thing a business can do, frankly. And that requires us to identify and take our human rights risks, mitigate those risks, track our performance as we try to mitigate those risks, and then communicate to the public about what the company is doing. And also engage with civil society, as difficult as that sometimes can be, to engage with them to hear from them about the problems that their business operations might be causing. So those are two of the most important things that business can do.
Yeah, thank you very much. UNDP is very pleased to be supporting the government of Mongolia to develop a national action plan on business and human rights. This is particularly important because in order to improve the overall business environment in Mongolia for promoting diversification of the economy and also attracting foreign direct investment, it's quite important to ensure that businesses are respecting human rights practices. So that means labor rights, gender equality rights, having good practices, and also working to promote and protect the environment. So to ensure that there's no violations of any person's human rights. That means any woman, any man, or any girl, or any boy in any community. So they're not negatively affected or having any impact from business operations. So overall, this National Action Plan, which will follow the guiding principles, is one for the government to support businesses so that they can respect and promote human rights, and also for businesses to put in place those actions. And also in the unfortunate event if human rights are violated through business practices, that both the government and private sector and businesses have in place measures to remedy any violations of a person's rights.
During the forum, a discussion was held on the three pillars of the management principles of business and human rights: the role of the state to protect those human rights, the responsibility of business organizations in respecting those human rights, and the role of the state and business to restore any violated rights. Forum attendees exchanged opinions and information on the results of human rights programs implemented and policies to be implemented in the future. Attendees also discussed what tools and incentives to use in fulfilling the responsibilities of respecting human rights in business operations according to international experiences, and what effective mechanisms exist to restore human rights in the case of rights being violated.
The Pride of Mongolia Entertainment and Business Expo was organized in the United Arab Emirates under the auspices of the Embassy of Mongolia in the United Arab Emirates. During the event, Mongolian textile and cashmere producers held a fashion show presenting their latest collections.
The Pride of Mongolia Entertainment and Business Expo was held in Dubai from November 7th through 13th. Cashmere products from Mongolia are well known around the world for their unique fine threads and high quality. Mongolian cashmere companies held a full-scale fashion show featuring their latest ready-to-wear collections for women and children. This event was held under the auspices of the Embassy of Mongolia in the United Arab Emirates. The event was organized to promote Mongolian culture and help Mongolian businesses expand their network in Gulf countries. It coincided with the Middle East Fashion Week, which features many well-known brands and designers from Middle Eastern countries. Our companies held a fashion show during Fashion Week. Middle East Fashion Week attracts major fashion brands and influencers from all over the world. When I was invited here, I had no idea it was such a major fashion event. We see it as a big opportunity to promote our domestic products in a larger market. Cashmere company representatives were able to introduce their products to major media outlets like Fashion TV and Vogue Arabia.
The Art Week 2022 Fine Arts exhibition is on view until December. The exhibition is being organized for a second consecutive year as part of Creative Industry Month. Work by 30 artists is on display.
50 works were selected for display from more than 100 submissions. The event is being held to promote Mongolian artwork. Some artists taking part in this exhibition are quite well known abroad. This exhibition allows artists to express themselves in a unique environment. These works are not only pieces of art, but also ways of expressing ideas about society and current affairs. The art exhibition was installed in 1,200 square meters of empty factory space.
This exhibition is unique because it's being organized in an industrial space built in the 1980s. It's interesting to look at modern art installed in a 40-year-old industrial building.
The exhibition opened last Friday and will be on view until December at the Research and Study Building near the Ministry of Food, Agriculture and Light Industry. The art exhibition is open to the public and free of charge.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Here's the international news from our partner agencies. Negotiators have approved an historic deal to create a fund for compensating poor nations that are victims of extreme weather worsened by rich countries' carbon pollution.
Thank you, Mr. President. To you.
However, there was little progress in addressing the root cause of climate change, the burning of fossil fuels. The decision establishes a fund for what negotiators call loss and damage. It is a big win for poorer nations which have long called for cash, sometimes viewed as reparations, because they are often the victims of climate disasters, despite having contributed little to the pollution that heats up the globe. Last year's climate talks president, the United Kingdom's Alok Sharma, criticized this year's summit leadership for knocking down his efforts to do more to cut emissions, with forceful listing of what was not done.
But we also wanted to take definitive steps forward. We joined with many parties to propose a number of measures that would have contributed to this. Emissions peaking before 2025, as the science tells us, is necessary. Not in this text. Clear follow-through on the phase-down of coal, not in this text. A clear commitment to phase out all fossil fuels, not in this text. And the energy text, weakened in the final minutes.
We made it clear over the past 2 weeks that mitigation ambition was a cornerstone of our outcomes here at COP27. I am disheartened we did not get there. Why are we trying to address loss and damage? Because we have failed on mitigation and adaptation.
Establishing this fund signals to the world that loss and damage will no longer solely be borne by those governments and people least responsible. Today is a step towards climate justice.
Next year's talks in the United Arab Emirates will see further negotiations to work out details of the new fund.
Turkey launched airstrikes over northern regions of Syria and Iraq, the Turkish Defense Ministry said Sunday, targeting Kurdish groups that Ankara held responsible for last week's bomb attack in Istanbul.
Warplanes attacked bases of the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party or PKK and the Syrian People's Protection Units or YPG, the ministry said in a statement, which was accompanied by images of F-16 jets taken off and footage of a strike from an aerial drone. There was no immediate comment from either group. The ministry cited Turkey's right to self-defense under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter in launching an operation it called Close Sword. It said it was targeting areas used as a base by terrorists in their attacks on the country. Turkey said it was seeking to prevent attacks, secure its southern border, and destroy terrorism at its source. The airstrikes came after a bomb rocked a bustling avenue in the heart of Istanbul on November 13, killing 6 people and wounding over 18 others. Turkish authorities blamed the attack on the PKK and its Syrian affiliate, the YPG. The Kurdish militant groups have, however, denied involvement. Ankara and Washington both consider the PKK a terror group but disagree on the status of the YPG. Under the banner of the Syrian Democratic Forces, the YPG has been allied with the US in the fight against the Islamic State group in Syria. The PKK has fought an armed insurgency in Turkey since 1984. The conflict has killed tens of thousands of people since then. Following the strikes, the defense ministry posted a photo of an F-16 fighter plane with the phrase "payback time." The DHA News reported that F-16s took off from the airfields in Malatya and Diyarbakir in southern Turkey, while drones were launched from Batman. Turkish Defense Minister Hulusi Akar oversaw the airstrikes from an operations center and congratulated pilots and ground staff. The airstrikes targeted Kobani, a strategic Kurdish-majority Syrian town near the Turkish border that Ankara had previously attempted to overtake in its plans to establish a safe zone along northern Syria.
Voting began in Kazakhstan on Sunday in a snap presidential election. Kazakhstan's current president Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, who faced a bloody outburst of unrest earlier this year and then moved to marginalize some of the Central Asian countries' longtime powerful figures, appears certain to win a new term against the little-known challenges in the contest.
5 candidates are on the ballot against Tokayev. With a short campaign period that began in late October, they have had little opportunity to mount significant challenges. Tokayev, apparently confident of holding a strong advantage, stayed away from a nationally televised election debate. The election for a 7-year term comes as Tokayev has taken steps to keep Kazakhstan's distance from longtime ally and dominant regional power Russia. When Tokayev became president in 2019, following the resignation of Nursultan Nazarbayev, he was widely expected to continue the authoritarian course of the man who had led the resource-rich country since it gained independence from the Soviet Union. Nazarbayev remained highly influential as head of the National Security Council, and the capital was renamed Nur Sultan in his honor. Then a wave of violence shook the country in January when provincial protests, initially sparked by a fuel price hike, engulfed other cities, notably the commercial capital Almaty, and became overtly political as demonstrators shouted "Old Man out" in reference to Nazarbayev. More than 220 people, mostly protesters, died as police harshly put down the unrest. Amid the violence, Tokayev removed Nazarbayev from his Security Council post. He restored the capital's previous name of Astana, and the Parliament of Kazakhstan repealed a law granting Nazarbayev and his family immunity from prosecution. Tokayev later pushed through reforms that included strengthening the parliament, reducing residential powers and limiting the presidency to a single 7-year term, meaning that he could stay in office until 2029 if he wins Sunday's election.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. Tens of thousands of football fans gathered at the FIFA Fan Festival to celebrate the opening of the World Cup tournament in Doha on Sunday. Draped with different national flags and wearing team jerseys, fans danced and sang while others remained outside of the gates trying to get in. Fans queued for drinks, including expensive beer at $14 a plastic glass, which was capped at 4 drinks per transaction.
So we came here this morning and we had a great experience so far. It's been nice people, nice weather, nice everything. A little bit hard to find something to drink, like a beer, but so far so good. The expectations for tonight is that Ecuador will probably win 2-0, I guess. We'll see. And hopefully Denmark is going to win the World Cup.
Another fan, Mackenzie Fontaine, revealed in the success of finding beer, "That's a big accomplishment. We got the golden juice." Just 2 days before the World Cup opener and host nation, Qatar banned the sale of beer at stadiums in a sudden U-turn that was criticized by some and welcomed by others. Qatari officials have long said they were eager to welcome soccer fans from around the world to the tournament, but that visitors should also respect their culture and traditions. Alcohol consumption, impermissible in Islam, is one of the areas where the country has been attempting to strike a delicate balance. The FIFA Fan Festival is the main fan zone for the World Cup, with the capacity to host over 40,000 people, according to organizers. Novak Djokovic ended a 7-year wait to clinch his 6th ATP Finals title and equal Roger Federer's record after beating Casper Ruud 7-5 and 6-3 in the tournament's trophies on Sunday. Djokovic failed to convert his 3 break points in the opening set, but it was 4th time lucky for the Serb, who forced a crucial break in the 12th game. There was only 1 break point in the entirety of the second set, and once again it went to Djokovic, who moved into a 3-1 lead.
1 break of serve was enough in both sets. I knew Casper was playing really well coming into this match. I think we both served very well. I think in some decisive moments, like in that 12th game of the first set, I just managed to put a few returns back in play, make him run, make him play. I was really pleased with the way I was playing him from back of the court, particularly forehand. It was looking to be very aggressive, and it worked great. I mean, I'm really pleased with the performance.
Ruud, who was appearing in his maiden final at the season-ending event after reaching the semis in 2021, had no response, and Djokovic went on to serve out his 4th victory in as many career meetings with the Norwegian. Here's the weather forecast of world's major cities. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.